Okay, this is going to be the next project in the Toys for Waz shop. Now, as a lot of you guys already know, I am a big fan of motorcycles. I have been riding for a really long time, and one of my favorite things to do is find old wrecks and either put them back together and sell them, or take them apart and sell the bits. And that's been a lot of the source of the funding for this channel. It's what's made me able to keep putting stuff up in the air. This is one of my favorite ways to go about it too. This is just an old beater. I like to find things that have been left out and neglected for years and years and years, and see if I can put them back together. This is a prime example of exactly what I like to do. This bike was last on the road in 2003. The date code on the rear tire is 1998. The date code on the front tire is 1988. That should give you an idea of the life that this bike has lived. It's been sitting out in the weather for a decade at least, possibly two, or close to two. This is a 1981 Honda GL500. This is very similar to the CX500 that I did last year. I have a long history with CX and GLs. They're some of my favorite bikes. I really enjoy them, and I think that I'm going to enjoy this one. Whenever this came to me, the engine was locked up, the carburetors were locked up, they're still soaking. I'm hoping that I can recover them. The rear differential was locked up. Just everything was seized. I did get the rear differential to unlock, and basically I pulled the plugs out of the cylinders. I filled each jug up with hydraulic oil. It's a lightweight hydraulic oil. I let it sit for a couple of days. I top it off every day so that it would, stay nice and wet on top of each of the pistons. And then I came and I just put a great big breaker bar on the rear wheel, and I forced it to move a little. And then I gave it a couple of days and did it again. I eventually got it to where it was turning over pretty easily. I also pulled the starter off because it was seized, hit it with a hammer a couple of times and freed it up, stuck it back in, and now it turns over with the starter. This bike did not come to me with keys. Actually, it did not come with most of the ignition assembly. I did run the history. It does have a clean history, but somewhere along the line it got past to somebody who thought that they could just hotwire it and make it work, and they did not have the same kind of misspent youth that I did. So I was able to run power to where we needed to get it to run, to where I could, try to start it with a button. So I know now that it has spark on both cylinders. We're going to dump some gas into the manifolds and see what happens. Now, I've already got all that wired up. We're going to turn on some juice. Now, something I would suggest if you're doing something like this, not water. Water is always bad in these kinds of situations, but you have a fire extinguisher or a source of air. Lots and lots of air. And make sure that nothing in your immediate vicinity is flammable. Because if you're dumping fuel directly into the manifolds and it backfires, it will be a flamethrower. It will shoot flames, flaming gas all over the place. So you want to make sure that you have some plan there to be able to keep it under control. I can tell you, compressed air is not the best way to go about it, because sometimes that can just spread it, but we're dealing with such a small amount that usually that's enough to disperse it to where we can get the fire under control. Hopefully, we won't have a problem. Put a little of number 1, a little of number 2. And I heard compression and spark earlier, so I don't think I'm going to be surprised here. And I am not. Whatever was living in that pipe just shot over there somewhere. Let's give it a little more, see what happens. Oh, that burnt hydraulic oil smells awesome. Let's put it in gear, just to make sure it turns that, which it should. Right there. That's what I was talking about. Little bitty backfires can throw some gas out. Usually it's not too dramatic, but sometimes it can be more dramatic than that. All right. So the thing will fire up and run. From here, I can start stripping it down and build the bike that I want it to be. Now, there is a thing that I want to do, and it's a source of a little bit of controversy with the groups that I'm in, that I've shared this idea with. And yesterday afternoon, I was all for doing it. Last night, not so much. First thing this morning, man, I was gung-ho. I was ready to come out here and go ahead and start cutting. And now, after hearing it run, I'm back to not being so sure I want to do it. But I picked this motor up for my buggy. That's going to be a separate set of videos. This is a Harbor Freight Predator V-Twin. It's 670 cc's. Only makes about 22 horsepower, but makes gobs and gobs of torque. It probably makes as much torque at the crank as this thing does. But I really want to take this motor and shoehorn it into this frame. I want to push it off to the front, put a CVT on the back, running the drive shaft. It'll make it automatic. It's not going to be blinding fast, but it'll be interesting. And I'll get to call it the Predator. I just think that'll be neat. But I'm being real wishy-washy on whether or not I want to do it. Anyway, that's the start of this project. There's going to be some more updates very soon, as well as updates on all my other turbines and other projects and stuff. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Guys, I hope you all have a wonderful day.